come into the newsroom, and we'll have your alternate routes in minutes.
8:12 right now. Last week we talked about the Biggerts Waters Flood Insurance Reform Act and how it will soon be increasing premium costs for 250,000 Floridians. Here with some answers to some of the questions you've sent in about that is Fox 29 lifestyle lawyer Shari O. Hi, Shari.
Good morning,
John.
Nice
to see you.
Thanks.
Our first question is from Mary Ellen, who asks, a few months ago my daughter had flooding in her home from all the rain and some serious damage in her home, but the insurance company wouldn't pay for much of the damage. For example, she had just installed a new spa. The equipment was destroyed. Now I'm wondering, how can I know what my own flood insurance does and does not cover?
Right.
Well,
well,
that happens to a lot of people.
It does, and especially important now, John, because we're paying more premiums. So we want to make sure we get our money's worth when there's a claim. So, Mary Ellen, there are some things that you can do actually before a flood to make sure things that would not normally be covered get covered. So you want to know this. There are 3 buckets that you need to think of when you're thinking about flood insurance coverage. The first is the building itself. So when you're thinking about the building, you're talking about the foundation, the structural elements, the systems, so the electrical and plumbing systems, the heating and air conditioning systems. But you're also talking about anything that's built in, John. So built-in appliances, built-in cabinets, built-in carpeting that's sort of laid down there. All of that is covered. The maximum coverage is going to be $250,000. If you have a detached garage, the only way you're going to get full coverage for that is if you have a second policy. The second bucket is the personal property. So with the personal property, you're talking about your clothing, your furniture, your portable appliances, your electronics, those kinds of things. Maximum coverage there is $100,000 except for valuables. The maximum coverage is going to be $2,500 for art and jewelry and stocks and cash and things like that. And the last bucket it would include things that Mary Ellen is talking about. So your spas, that's the things that are not covered. Your spas, your things that are outside. Spas, pools, fences, decks, those kinds of things. If you want to make sure they're covered, all you need to do, John, is move that furniture from the outside in before the flood, and it will be covered. Same thing with things that are in your basement. Things in your basement are not covered, so move them upstairs before the flood. You're also not going to be covered for mold damage that you could have fixed after the flood.
That sounds surprising to me. Mold damage.
Well,
that you could have fixed.
If you could have mitigated the damage afterwards.
Early
so if you just lock the doors and leave, you're not covered for that.
Not good. Okay. Lastly, our next question from Sid, who says, I've been told it's important to keep receipts and take pictures of all your stuff so you have it for potential insurance claims, but I'm not very good at keeping up with that.
I mean,
who is, right? Will I really need it if I have a claim?
In a perfect world, we'd all keep our receipts. We would all floss twice a day, but that doesn't happen. So what's more important than keeping the receipts is how involved you are in the actual claim. So there's 3 steps to every claim that you need to keep in mind. The first is you're going to have to show that the damage was a direct cause of the flood. So to the extent that you can get involved and get an engineer's report for structural things beforehand, that kind of thing, you're way better off. The second is going to be filling out the proof of claim, and that's where the receipts come in handy, but they're not necessary. You're going to list all the items that are gone or damaged, the dates, approximate dates you purchased them, and what they cost. And then the third is actually working with the adjuster, because they're going to pay you the lesser of replacement cost or the actual cash value, which is the depreciated value. So you don't want to just leave that up to the adjuster to determine. You want to get very involved and make sure, for example, if you had a recliner that was a Lazy Boy, that's going to be more expensive. It's a brand item than a generic recliner. You want to make sure it gets reflected that way on your claim with the adjuster.
A lot of good information that affects a lot of people. Thank you so much, Shari.
Sure.
We'll see you next week. Let's go back to the anchor desk.
All right, we are covering news in our state more than a year and a half after Trayvon Martin was shot and killed by George Zimmerman. The city of Sanford is making major changes